Thank you for joining this webinar session. We will start momentarily. Thank you for your patience.
All right. Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to all. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today, and we are thrilled to have you here for this session. My name is Eunice, and I'll be your moderator for today. And before we get things started, just a few housekeeping notes to help you make the most out of today's experience. This session is being recorded, and full replay will be available on our website shortly after the event. You're also currently joining this session in listen-only mode. But we'd love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to drop your questions in our Q&A panel or in our chat box at any time. We will be addressing as many as we can during our Q&A session towards the end. All disruptions, fluctuating material costs, and high customer expectations are putting manufacturing and industrial operation in a high constant state of flux. In this session, see how OpsVeda provides immediate visibility into critical workflows and all other important details, plus keeping production lines running seamlessly. To head this conversation, handing this over to the man of the hour, Sveda's founder and CEO, Sanjeev Gupta. Ready? Take it away, Sanjeev.
Thank you so much, Eunice. Welcome everyone to our webinar. Our topic today is overcoming supply chain and production pressures with continuous optimization. There's a lot of talk about AI. There's a lot of AI in OpsVeda, but today we specifically wanted to focus on how AI powers optimization and how optimization changes outcomes. The global disruptions, fluctuating material cost, high customer expectations are putting manufacturing and industrial operations in a constant state of flux. In this session, we will show you how OpsVeda provides immediate visibility into critical workflows from inventory to shipments, helping you tackle unexpected challenges, protect margins, and keep production lines running seamlessly. We will discuss how OpsVeda solutions, including the recently launched TariffSight, empower you to move from a reactive stance to a proactive posture. By the end of this session, we strive to give you concrete ideas on tackling disruptions, prioritizing critical orders, and protecting margins. We will have Q&A towards the end of this session. So as Eunice mentioned, feel free to enter your questions along the way, and I would love to address them as well. In today's climate, the manufacturing and industrial operators are facing unprecedented amount of volatility. And that was true even before the tariffs came in. And right now, besides volatility, there is also significant amount of uncertainty regarding sources of supply. What happens after 90 days is anyone's guess. So supply chain disruptions are daily headlines, and the regulations can change rapidly, leading to immediate cost impacts. Meanwhile, customers continue to demand speed, transparency, and reliability, creating pressure on us to be nimble. Therefore, real-time connected insights are vital to survive. Now, what you see on the screen here on the left-hand side is a view of a typical high-tech manufacturing semiconductor manufacturing environment. It looks complex. There are multiple flows of materials across. As the material traverses the BOM, there are multiple flows. There are multiple international and domestic flows. And each of these flows are subject, among many things, they are all subject to tariff implications. They are subject to lead time implications. They are subject to supplier viability implications. And all of these are correlated as well. So and this supply chain is not a complex supply chain. This is a typical supply chain. So supply chains are in general, they are complex, and this is typical. And if this is the complexity, imagine all of the challenges that the operations team members and the supply chain team members have to deal with in order to get products into the hands of the customer in time. So persistent disruptions, significant volatility and tariff shocks, supply uncertainty and logistics bottlenecks, margin erosion from firefighting and expediting. And these are all very significant reasons why the current environment demands real time or near real time actions and decisions. So so that's the environment. How are we looking to address the challenges in this environment? One thing is true, and I think it is true in everyone in the audience. Each of your environments, I could say, we all have siloed data. We do have intelligence. We have a variety of applications that we have invested in over a period of time, but that intelligence is also siloed. You have intelligence on your orders. You have intelligence on your suppliers. You have intelligence on inventory. But what about intelligence on inventory or supply or goods movement and that impacts your customers' orders that you are supposed to fulfill? Each of that intelligence is in silo, and something needs to connect all of this on a continuous basis in order to make sure that we can have optimized decisions. So complex global supply chains amplify risk, regulatory pressures erode margins, and tight customer SLAs have rising lead time expectations and quality expectations. So these are challenges, and we need to figure out a way to address these challenges, and least of which is how do I go from a reactive operation to a proactive operations. And this is where OpsVeda's operations command center comes in to help. The OpsVeda provides a single command center for all of your operations, integrating data from your ERP system, from your planning system, from your MES system, from your shipping partners, and the various tariff libraries into one real-time view. No more waiting for batch reports, and the OpsVeda environment helps you gain insights so that you can take swift and proactive measures. So it comes together, powered by real-time visibility across demand, across inventory, production, supply, shipments, and cost implications thereof. It enables rapid alerts and scenario simulations for actions that you need to take within the execution horizon. And with the help of machine learning and AI, it helps you improve decisioning and bring about automation in some of those decisions. That's the full scope of the operations command center. And the operations command center is not a replacement of any system that you already have in place. The operations command center fits in right on top of the transaction environment that you have established. So this is business in a box, and the operations command center spans your superpowers towards managing revenue, towards managing your supply, towards managing your order fulfillment, towards managing manufacturing, towards managing inventory and optimizing inventory across and your working capital investments across your supply chain, and optimizing logistics costs. And within the command center, there are a variety of applications. And today I will go through a few of those applications as we move through this session. There are a variety of applications. They relate to how do we simulate and project how much revenue we are going to make this month, this quarter, and what portion of that revenue needs to be pulled in or pushed out, could be pulled in or pushed out. How does our forecasting look? What's the forecast accuracy? What's the budget for the month, and where are we landing right at this moment? Revenue growth management solutions, supplier collaboration solutions, supplier performance solutions, TariffSight, fulfillment, allocation management, production scheduling, simulating production options. If you have an urgent order, big order, customer calls, can you make this particular shipment for me, and can you deliver in the next 45 days? Can I quickly model the supply, the machine constraints, and the labor constraints in order to figure out, can we make the specific rapidly respond to the specific request that just came from the customer? So all of those solutions are individual applications within the command center that Your teams generally spend a lot of time enabling on a daily basis. The OpsVeda command center makes that available business in a box for the business users. Now, on top of all of these intelligent applications, there is a co-pilot called Juni. And Juni continuously looks into all of this because we are fast moving into an environment where we do not expect our business users to be staring at intelligent screens, so that business users and analysts to be staring at intelligent screens so that they can make better decisions. If better insights and better decisions are available, then the system should come to the user, and that's the function of Juni. Juni is autonomously alerting, autonomously decisioning, increasingly autonomously decisioning, and eventually autonomously actioning on behalf of the user. So that's the power of the operations command center, and all of this comes together as OpsVeda. And today's session, once again, is to focus on how the command center helps power manufacturing companies, industrial companies, and high-tech companies. Moving along, the command center has a variety of things underneath. The command center has continuous supply demand optimization. Based upon the continuous supply demand optimization, there is discovery of a variety of opportunities, and those opportunities were the various applications that you saw. Those opportunities come alive based upon a continuous view of data. There is AI ML augmentation on this continuous view of data, and then there is the Juni Copilot. Now, what is this continuous supply demand optimization? There's a lot of capabilities that come alive, but they are foundationally built on what we call as CSDO. The OpsVeda CSDO leverages continuous streams of data and real-time streams of data from customer orders, from current forecast, various sources of forecast, inventory, supply in the form of purchase orders, planned orders, production orders, into a continuous automated demand and supply rebalancing engine. And this sharpens decisions and it boosts efficiency in real time. So continuously sense, continuously predict, continuously optimize, and then help the business user take some decisions and act, or the system can begin to act increasingly on the user's behalf. Now, this CSDO engine is what separates a lot of customers. They have ERP systems, they have intelligent systems, BI systems, they have advanced planning systems. But they are all working in silo. Many a time they're working in silo. And then many companies only have a transactional ERP system, and it does not have the efficacy or the extensions in order to enable complex business functions. The idea of OpsVeda over here, CSDO, is to create this digital twin, which is a continuous view of all demand, all supply, all inventory, all logistics. And this engine then evaluates without necessarily disrupting the kind of systems that you already have in place. This engine continuously sorts all demand. It continuously sorts all supply. It continuously sorts all inventory and all shipments. It continuously evaluates the variety of constraints that drive it, right? So the ERP system assumes infinite scheduling, infinite capacity, infinite machines, and infinite people. But the reality is different. The reality is that there are machine constraints, there are labor constraints, there are material constraints, there are lead time constraints, there is warehouse proximity, and all of those constraints. So within the CSDO engine, we also configure the constraints and we discover those constraints. There is configuration of allocation, product allocation rules, so that if there is short supply, which customers do I prioritize first? There is short supply, which production orders do I prioritize first? Perhaps the production order that's already on the manufacturing line, that needs to be given that raw material than the production order that is supposed to be put on the manufacturing line a few days down the road. So what's the allocation rules across these, and what's the revenue lift option? So if I'm trying to manage my revenue, then is there an alternative location or alternative size or an alternative product that I could provide to the customer? So substitution rules and so on. So all of this comes together in this configurable CSDO engine, and that drives the optimized fulfillment, optimized supply, optimized inventory. Okay. So that's the superpower that helps OpsVeda enable, unlock a variety of those solutions in rapid fashion. Now, let's peel the onion a little bit, and we will talk about a few of these solutions individually, and then time permitting, I am going to give the audience a quick preview into the application. So with OpsVeda's continuous scoring, demand scoring and supply scoring, you can quickly see which orders are either most profitable or they are most urgent. And this ensures that if you have limited supply, the limited raw materials, limited labor, limited machinery capacity, then we are able to prioritize that towards either higher margins or higher priorities. Okay. So by proactively prioritizing this demand, we can protect, improve customer relationships and margins. So real-time scoring and prioritization engine, and allocate limited resources effectively and manage time deadlines with precision. So within this, and as you will see later in the demo, there is a way to configure various revenue buckets. So if I have a backlog of $300 million, and if I want to ship this $300 million within the current quarter, what portion of that $300 million is currently in the invoiced and shipped bucket? What is currently in the DC, in pick and allocated? What is on hand inventory unallocated? What portion of it is dependent upon current production orders and running on time? What portion of it is dependent upon current production orders, manufacturing orders, which are potentially late due to certain constraints, as we spoke about? What portion of it is dependent upon incoming supply, and what is in transit, and so on? So all of that is configurable within this, and that allows us to take a fine-tooth comb and figure out what's the right priority and what's the right allocation of inventory into the respective customers. The next capability that is top of mind today is compliance and tariff intelligence. So OpsVeda has launched a new solution called TariffSight, and TariffSight helps monitor in real time what tariff changes are there and how they impact the various raw materials and supply that are coming in, and how they impact the actual finished goods. And based upon that, we can determine if there is an alternative lane that we need to use in order to bring the materials in. Do we need to leverage USMCA in order to come in through Mexico, or is there an alternative model? What if scenario planning to model alternative sourcing, risk mitigation for compliance and tariff classification errors, and tariff site for those who are interested and for those who are impacted. The impact of tariffs seems to have softened in the last couple weeks. While it is true that perhaps 6 weeks ago tariffs were not top of mind for anyone in this call for sure, but the impact of tariffs have softened. But this is definitely merely a lull before the actual storm comes back again. So there is a halt for 90 days. There is a window of opportunity to fix the network a little bit, to a window of opportunity to make a little bit more optimized decisions around our supply. The supply base actually comes a bit later, but to decide about our supply and about our inventory positions for the next couple months and quarters. But the need for manufacturing companies, even a 10% standard baseline tariff is a significant hit on their gross margin. So the need to have competency in being able to model the impact of tariffs, it is definitely a current need, and we do have certain solutions which will help this. Okay. So within TariffSight, we capture landed cost. We do scenario simulation. We do traceability so that the compliance records are in place for imports and for exports. And we also provide a significant capability to simulate margins and think about pass-through strategy what portion of this tariff I could potentially pass through to my supplier, and what will that do to my gross margin, and what will that do to the purchase order values and so on. Okay. I did mention simulation and scenario planning a little bit. OpsVeda has significant capabilities around simulation and scenario planning. And with scenario planning, you can evaluate alternative options. So what if scenarios across either there is an alternative source of supply, and should I source a particular purchase order or a particular raw material supply that is needed in the month of August? Do I source it from one country to the next, one supplier to the next? Do we use a different shipping lane? Do we simulate the impact of tariffs, and what kind of impact it has on specific customers or specific suppliers, and the consequential margins? In some cases, do we simulate the scenarios of alternative plants? Sometimes we have inventory sitting not in the primary location from where we are supposed to ship to the next inventory planning point or to the customer, but the inventory is sitting in a different place. It is sitting in the manufacturing plant. Could I ship direct from the manufacturing plant? So to do all of that alternative plant and alternative source of supply and product, and in some cases even product substitution, in some industrials, if one assembly is missing, maybe a different part number, different assembly, which is comparable or similar, can be substituted. So those kinds of simulation capabilities are possible within OpsVeda, because OpsVeda captures, as you will see later, captures all of this information across the bill of material, and the BOM explosion can happen inside OpsVeda as well. Revenue pull-ins and push-outs, purchase order pull-ins and push-outs, and production simulation. So really, across the entire, from revenue and order fulfillment all the way to manufacturing, there are decisions that business users make every single day. Those decisions need to do some scenario planning, some alternative situation, and then some alternative options. And there is an integral capability to do that scenario planning, the dynamic what if, within OpsVeda. Moving along, significant capabilities are needed, which are typically in the Excel spreadsheet realm at most companies. Capabilities around collaboration with your suppliers. So some very large customers of OpsVeda leverage OpsVeda for collaborating better with their suppliers. So hundreds of suppliers logging into the OpsVeda portal, as it is needed. We're making sure that their confirmations come in over there. The confirmations get validated before they go propagate the backend ERP system, and packaging collaboration and so on. So lots of solutions around supplier collaboration, around supply planning, real-time exceptions, triage, and actions on supply situations, and good old-fashioned supplier performance management and spend analysis. So proactive supply risk management and ability to collaborate, plan, and monitor performance with the suppliers. Next is intelligent logistics orchestration. So within logistics, trade and tariff is just the opening headline. The real impact of trade and tariff is margins, it's logistics, it's actual inventory, it's actual supply network, and so on. So logistics is equally important. And if we are trying to make decisions around what portion of inventory to pull in before the 90-day cutoff, what portion of inventory to push out, or should I do some alternative supply, the logistics cost is definitely an integral cost of it. So being able to project what kind of containers I need to book ahead of time, because that container shortage can begin to impact us. Being able to prioritize the inbound shipments through the lens of which shipment is more urgent, because if the ports are clogged, and if I've got 5 containers in Long Beach, and if there is need to go prioritize which containers do I release first, we need to know what's inside the container, what's the inventory, who needs that inventory, which production order or which sales order needs that inventory. So wiring the entire thing is required in order to be able to prioritize inbound in a holistic manner. Optimization requires wiring. So all of that solution set, there are capabilities within OpsVeda. PO prioritization and transloading. So as the supply, for the supply that we have firmed up, can we do allocation at origin, which means before the goods actually leave the manufacturing plant, do we pre-allocate who that goods, which production order or which sales order that those goods are for. So that's allocation at origin, and also as it is coming, either on a truck or on a ship or on a container, do we do transloading? This may or may not be important for everyone on the call, but there are certain businesses that do think about transloading, because when logistics cost is high, there's no point taking everything into a DC only to realize that 80% of it is going to a secondary location. And real-time shipment visibility. So predict, prioritize, and deliver. That would be the mantra for the logistics solutions. With that, I would like to quickly embark on a system demo. Looks like we are doing good on time. So very quick. These are just 5 of the many out-of-the-box capabilities that OpsVeda brings for manufacturing companies to help you move from reactive firefighting to proactive margin-driven decisions. I'll quickly walk you through a few. Idea is to give you a preview and set up individual sessions for a deeper dive. Okay. So this is the application. I would like to start the application all cloud. Some of you there are customers in the audience, and the OpsVeda solution is available on cloud, and all we need is activation, and activation can happen rather rapidly, as we'll talk about in a bit. And users have a menu that they can look at very specific solutions, or they can search, or they might have their favorites and recents. If I wanted to look at allocation projections, this is a view of my business priorities, the criticality through the lens of criticality, through the lens of potential risk. What is high potential? So look at all of my open backlog for the period, and then look at it through the lens of what is already completed, achieved for the quarter, for the month, for the week. What is high potential? What is potential, and what is at risk? Through the lens across all of my customers, and across all of my product lines, and across week over week revenue, the unit projections, dollar projections, and so on. And essentially, we have this unique OpsVeda CSDO, the engine that we spoke about, has the unique ability to match the entire business through the supply chain progression lens. So for my book of business, what portion of it is in pick, what is on hand, unallocated, what is currently in manufacturing on the production floor, and which of it is manufacturing and late. Perhaps what is late is because there is some material shortage, or there is machine shortage, or there is labor shortage, labor constraints. What is in transit, and what is in transit and late, and so on. And we can get into details, drill down actions across all of these, and let's look at something that is impacted, not covered, or and so on. And let's look at some details. Confirm manufacturing and production. So I can look at details in a consolidated view of my data, and then I can also look at details of specific transactions that are going through on the floor. Now, whenever we can make updates from here. The system connects to your backend environment and your other systems, which means we can trigger transactions right from here. For instance, in some cases, it might be relevant to go create a purchase order, release credit, or make some changes, initiate stock transfers, and so on, or to take some changes, impacts at the header level. So the idea is entire business in a box, wired on a continuous basis, and the CSDO engine paints this picture about how I'm going to, what's at risk, what's not at risk, what are the exceptions and priorities, and so on. The next use case that I would like to briefly mention is tariff exposure monitor. So tariff is important. There is a lot of solutions around tariff. We recently did a webinar on tariff as well. The product was launched about 3 weeks ago. Significant customer interest because this is top of mind for a lot of companies. The idea here is to look at the exposure through the lens of countries of origin, exposure through the lens of what's my current gross margin and what's the impact of tariff. These numbers look very different till the China impact was also pushed out by 90 days. So the margin impact was much more significant, and I think these margin impacts will become much very different. We have arrived at a time when managing tariff exposure, tariff becomes a continuous capability. It's just a capability that we need to have. We need to make sure that it integrates seamlessly with our transactional decisions, with our supply decisions, with our invoicing, with our master data setup, and so on. So all of that is part of this. Look at my book of business, inbound and outbound, through the lens of country of origin, current margins, impact of tariff, revenue impact of tariff, impact view from the inbound supply across various suppliers or the high risk product. Also look at it from the perspective of inbound supply and outbound fulfillment risk. This is important today, and as I said, it is important as soon as the 90-day period switches, we'll be back to high volatility. Directly connected. Okay, it is connected to all the rates and so on. The next use case I would like to briefly touch upon is supply risk and visibility. This provides us a view across all suppliers through the lens of country of origin, details of my supply, and any delays that I am seeing in the supply, costs that relate to the supplier, any fluctuations that we see, and this mimics the data that's in my master systems, and scoring of these suppliers and what is late and on time in full and so on, and it helps us have better conversations with our supplier. The next capability that one might be interested in is to look at PO prioritization and transloading. I think I briefly talked about this earlier. The priority can be looking at allocation at origin or looking at allocation of on water, and this is through the lens of all of my current supply across all of my vendors, and be able to look at details of current allocation, which production order, which factory is this particular purchase order intended for, how much of this of the inventory on this particular purchase order is already sold, which means we have an obligation to bring it in and give it to the customer, and how much of it is meant for a specific build, and how much of it is perhaps not needed immediately. So if we had to do those kinds of decisions, the PO prioritization and transloading solutions from OpsVeda can be beneficial. And the last but not the least is I would like to talk about inventory projection. And this is looking at The same system which looks at the entire book of business and through the CSDO engine and talks about this is the backlog and this is how this backlog is high priority, high potential, completed, high potential, the medium potential, and at risk. That same system, it can look at the top level. It also looks at the bottom level. And here across all of my materials, whether it is finished goods or packaging material or raw material or spare parts or whatsoever, across all of this, we have a continuous view of how much inventory we have, what are the exceptions that are applicable at this point in time, and what is the projected inventory levels we would have if the forecasts were to hold at 80% of the forecast, at 100% of forecast, and so on. And here we are looking at through the lens of this. Let me find some which have got significant. Okay, finished goods. So we have this explodes the BOM. So the bill of material exists inside OpsVeda, which means we are able to see what's the status of inventory for the finished products or the semi-finished product, and by the way, how does it relate to each of the child material that go into making that particular finished product and the semi-finished product, and what is the inventory position for each of those child materials. And here at the top line level itself, there is view into what is the projected inventory. So a time-phased view of inventory, time-phased view of days of supply, time-phased view of supply versus demand, and forecast. And from here, the associate can take certain actions in order to initiate stock movement from one plant to the next plant, or purchase order creation or cancellation, and so on. So with that, I would like to go back to the idea was to only give you a view of this. So the footprint of OpsVeda, we have a solid track record with big names in the industry, whether it is Siemens or Western Digital or other high-tech manufacturing customers. We have demonstrated significant benefits for our customers over the years. And just to share a few examples, $12 billion high-tech manufacturing, global footprint. The solution gets data from SAP, Oracle, and a few other systems. Solution feeds data into Blue Yonder and data lakes. $1 billion F&B manufacturing, significant capability. $2 billion apparel manufacturing, significant capabilities. And a $50 billion industrial manufacturing, significant capabilities around supplier collaboration, shipments, packaging, and so on. So the OpsVeda solution has been deployed at a large number of customers, and it is a secret sauce that can help you go from reactive to proactive. One of the biggest superpowers of OpsVeda is that the capabilities that we have shown today can be realized in as early as 30 days. That such claims require you to have proven ready to deploy, ready to activate real-time integrations with the likes of complex systems such as SAP, ERP, EWM, such as Oracle, such as Salesforce, such as Infor, such as NetSuite, and so on. So proven real-time integrations, a comprehensive solution repository, and we only showed maybe 5% of the kinds of solutions that OpsVeda has in its toolbox. A platform that customers can extend. It is very easy to build on top of OpsVeda. So I am absolutely confident, in fact, that exactly the solution that is demonstrated is not the solution that directly applies to anyone in the audience. But what if we said that to go from exactly the solution that was demonstrated, to go from exactly the revenue buckets that we showed, or the inventory buckets that we showed, and the exceptions that we showed, or any of that, what if all of that was configurable in less than 24 hours by people on your team? So it's a builder's platform, and builders can build and extend solutions on top of OpsVeda, and the solution is available on a variety of places, including the AWS Marketplace. And the Juni AI agent is available on Microsoft Teams. Okay. So fast implementation means low deployment fee, and it goes live in a month or less than a month. If you want TariffSight, it goes live much faster than that. So now that you have seen the value that OpsVeda can deliver, we would love to take it to the next level. And the best approach is to schedule a personalized demo. Visit OpsVeda.com. There are various options over there. Identify a real use case to solve some problems for your operations, and perhaps TariffSight is that first use case. And also learn about how other brands have gained ROI from this. With that, Eunice, I would like to switch this into the Q&A session. Are there
Right.
any questions that have come in?
Yes, and we have multiple questions really from our audiences. And thanks, everyone. Feel free to drop your comments and your feedback also in the chat box. We'll be more than willing to, of course, look into them and answer your questions as well. I think one question here, Sanjeev, to start our Q&A session. They wanted to know what external data sources are we tapping into for this tariff solution?
Well, there are a variety of data sources for the tariff solutions. One of them is the actual tariff HTS website. The other one is the customs ACE system. And then there are a few other customer specific systems also that we are tapping into it. The tariff rates continuously gets updated within the OpsVeda environment. But we
Okay.
can have very, very specific conversations with this. With some customers, there is
Mhm.
a higher level of wiring. With some other customers, there is just enough wiring for the HTS rates. And the HTS rates, you might have transaction, but what we have realized through multiple customer conversations is that the challenge is at the ground floor level. And that ground floor challenge is that the HTS codes in our system is different from the HTS codes that we are doing the importation on, and I think that is creating compliance issues. And we need to make sure that we have the right HTS code in the system. Certain HTS codes might be more profitable, might be better from the perspective of how you add value and how the country of origin changes and so on and so forth. That piece is almost fully automated, which means the system will automatically discover exceptions and alerts on what is right. If your data is incorrect, system will flag it. If your data is missing, system will flag it. If your data is probably different from what we have, then maybe there is slightly beneficial classification, system will suggest it as well.
What are the biggest risks for manufacturers that they face today if they don't have real-time supply chain visibility?
The biggest risk, I don't want to be just waving the red flag over here. So I think the risks have always been with the supply chain risks are the biggest. But at some point in time, for the longest time, there was supply chain risk and there was supply risk. There is inventory shortage, which means if I don't have inventory, how do I make sure that my production plant keeps running? Sometimes why do I continue to make products that are not necessarily being demanded by the customer? Because there are manufacturing plants who are just measured on return on assets, on manufacturing efficiency. If I have labor, I will build. So these were all good old fashioned supply chain risk and efficiency risk and inventory obsolescence risk. But today, the tariffs are connecting the dots on all of these risks and bringing it directly to the bottom line gross margin and net margin aspect of it. So the real time is needed because we need up to the minute information, because we don't, if the cost is going up, the last thing I want to be doing is to be making products that are not saleable at the price at which we are selling it. So wiring the whole thing and being able to make decisions on supply that has not yet sailed, on production orders that have not yet taken off, I think some of that decision, those are more real time. So the challenges are the same, the risks are the same, the risks are just a little bit more amplified today. And it's not just volatility, I think it is uncertainty. There is a 90-day uncertainty, and going after that, I think being proactive has to become a competitive imperative. Right? It's not like, hey, this was the plan that was given to me 2 months ago, and therefore this is the plan that the production plant is on. I think that doesn't work anymore, and that's the real difference between reactive and proactive.
Being proactive is imperative for sure. Well, people wants to know also, does OpsVeda integrate with ERP systems? Let's say SAP, Oracle, for the content.
Yeah, of course. You cannot implement a continuous supply demand inventory logistics matching without having the transactions in the engine. So yes, we integrate with the backend ERP system, whichever it is. We integrate with SAP. We integrate. I'm talking about real-time business-aware integrations with the SAP ERP and the entire SAP footprint, EWM, GTS, so many other systems. We integrate with Oracle. We integrate with Infor. We have customers running NetSuite, and then some customers we've got other ERP systems as well. But then we integrate through the data lakes. We don't necessarily have to go to the ERP systems, as long as the Snowflake or the Databricks environments have got the data being refreshed at the right cadence. Real time does not have to be real time as of that minute. But when I say the $12 billion high tech, or the $2 billion the manufacturing, or the $50 billion industrial, those deployments are real time as of the minute, which means the CSDO engine is all the screens that we saw. Those are real time screens as of that minute. So all the data, as the data changes, it automatically streams and automatically everything comes alive. That's the thesis and the work of OpsVeda. But not every business needs all of it in real time, and we do have to walk a little bit before we start running. So we do integrate directly with data lakes such as Snowflake, etc. And there are some customers who have got 2 hour cadence on updating data, and I think that works absolutely fine, because the distance between where many companies are today, especially in the manufacturing domain, versus where we need to be or where we could be, that's a pretty wide distance, and we can definitely help shorten that.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think you also highlighted earlier in the discussion the 3060 implementation, plus really feeling the impact of this platform in 30 days time. But I think people wanted to know, what is really the real implementation timeline?
Well, we are a mature company and we have been supporting large enterprise customers for a long time. Quite often, I have this conversation with the customer. You might be able to do it in 30 days, but we won't be able to give you the data in 30 days. We won't be able to wire this. So, of course, as a company, we have invested time over a period of over the years to make sure that the adapters are easily deployed. We do want IT partnership, but we want to make sure that IT takes the solution, deploys the adapter, the data could start streaming in a matter of days. Okay, so the implementation in 30 days does not means that the technical implementation is done. The storyboards, as you saw, is good. The storyboards are all whatever the data comes in, solution goes live. But then now the solution has to be tailored to the customer's need, very specific customer need. So OpsVeda has the Veda in OpsVeda is the intelligence and knowledge. So OpsVeda has significant domain expertise and experience. And then there is this AI and ML, which understands the data and it stitches it the right way and so on. But there is change management is what takes time, and user readiness. But if we have a pressing problem that needs to be solved, and that problem has got significant dollars or leakage associated with it, margin leakage or revenue impact associated with it, then the priority is right. And if the priority is right, then I think the change management becomes a little bit easier. If we have smart analysts on the team, on the other end, we can be live in less than 30 days. We expect our customers to start realizing early value benefit from OpsVeda in the first 30 days. And that's the real thesis of our deployment model.
That's the superpower of our deployment model. All right. Well, another question here. This one. How adaptable is OpsVeda to sudden changes in demand or possible supply shortages?
Well, of course, that's the continuous supply demand optimization means that as soon as there is a demand change, the algorithms automatically detect it. And we have a storyboard which will allow us to understand what's the impact. If we'll have a storyboard which will allow us to tell us not just impact at a high level, at a granular level, which transaction and so on. Remember, in the manufacturing industry, there are complex bill of materials, which means there is a demand shock at the top level item. But I think ultimately, whether or not that demand shock can be addressed depends upon some raw material somewhere and the supply. So we need to expand the whole bomb. What typically might take an organization a week or 8 hours or 4 hours to assess In OpsVeda, it would be immediate. So that's the essential thesis why there is continuous, as in real time, supply demand optimization capability, and it is the primary purpose. It is to understand the demand variability, because variability starts. It's the customer variability that's the most important. Although these days there is the supply shock and lead time, and all of that is equally important. I would love to set sessions to discuss these specific.
For sure. And that's why we would be encouraging everyone also to get in touch with us so we'd be able to design this conversation based on your business model. Now, I think we still can cater more questions. Does this have to be a long-term subscription, or do you think a short-term engagement is enough?
That's an interesting question. I did hear this question very recently earlier as well. So nothing has to be a long-term engagement. The wiring of continuous supply, demand, inventory, logistics optimization, that only makes sense where we are kind of integrated. But if you have an immediate problem, if you have a tariff problem, TariffSight does not require a long-term subscription. TariffSight can be licensed for 3 months, and inclusive of implementation, we will deliver the capabilities for you. Our solutions for pricing, promotion optimization, those don't need long-term subscription because they are heavily dependent upon machine learning. They are heavily dependent upon historical data rather than continuous feeds of current open backlog. If we are looking at AI powered forecasting, revenue forecasting, or demand forecasting, or inventory forecasting, that does not require long term, but it does require some engagement in order to solve a problem, because those problems they don't depend upon continuous supply demand. If you want to do supplier collaboration, you don't want to wire your suppliers on a short term engagement, because we don't want to change the supplier side integrations without having a long term commitment to stay on the platform. So depending upon use case, there is long term or short term. But CSDO does require minimum 6-month commitment, and that is, we are just saying that once you have CSDO and once you have the system wired, we would only want long term. Some of our largest customers have been with us for over a decade, and that just speaks to the power of the platform. Eunice?
That's the experience, so would be able to decide if you want a short-term or a long-term partnership with us. Okay. Well, I hope we'd be able to cater all of the questions that we have here from our audiences. But I think that brings us to the end of today's session. We'd like to thank everyone once again for being with us today. And if you happen to miss any part of the discussion or want to revisit specific conversation, the full recording will be available in our website soon after this session. So for those interested in wanting to learn more or how we can apply this to your specific business goal, our team will be reaching out to you to continue the conversation and would love to offer support where needed. So on behalf of the entire OpsVeda team, would like to thank everyone once again for spending your time with us today. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and we look forward to connecting with you once again soon. Take care, everyone.